The first ships appeared on a Tuesday morning at exactly 9:47 a.m., Greenwich Mean Time. They came out of nowhere, massive black shapes that blotted out the sun across half the world. Admiral Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the small blue planet below, his forearms crossed behind his back as he studied the readings on his screens. "Another primitive world," he said to his second-in-command. "Their technology is laughable. Chemical rockets and basic electronics. This will be over in hours." Zethkar had done this dance before. Hundreds of worlds had fallen to his fleet. The pattern was always the same. Show overwhelming force, destroy their major cities, and the species would surrender. Most never even tried to fight back once they saw what they were facing. On Earth, alarms screamed in military bases around the world. Satellites went dark one by one as alien ships moved into position. In the Pentagon, General Lisa Carter's younger brother Jake Morrison stared at the radar screens that showed contacts too big to be real. "Sir, we're getting readings of ships the size of Manhattan," his aide reported, voice shaking. "There are over 200 of them." Jake Morrison had been a soldier for 20 years. He had seen war in a dozen countries, but nothing had prepared him for this. Through the windows of the command center, he could see the shadow of one of the alien ships passing overhead. It was so large it took 3 minutes to pass completely. "Get me the president," Jake said quietly, "and start moving our people to the bunkers." 3,000 miles away in Antarctica, Dr. Lisa Carter was having problems of her own. She had been studying ice samples when her equipment started acting strange. The seismic readers were showing movement deep underground, deeper than any earthquake she had ever recorded. "Ben, come look at this," she called to her partner, Ben Murphy. He was a big man from Texas who had come to Antarctica to study the geology. Most people thought he was crazy for wanting to work in the coldest place on Earth, but Ben loved the quiet and the science. "What you got, Doc?" Ben asked, walking over to her computer screen. "Something is moving down there," Lisa said, pointing at the readings. "Look at these numbers. Whatever it is, it's huge and it's moving up toward the surface." Ben frowned at the screen. He had been studying rocks and ice for 15 years, and he had never seen readings like this. "Maybe it's just the ice shifting because of the temperature changes." "No." Lisa shook her head. "This is different. This is organized. Movement. Like something is waking up." Amy Rodriguez, their communications expert, ran into the room. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking. "Guys, you need to see the news. We're being invaded." They gathered around Amy's tablet and watched in horror as the news showed alien ships over major cities around the world. The ships were firing, beams of light that cut through buildings like they were made of paper. Planes that tried to attack the ships simply disappeared, turned to dust by weapons humanity couldn't understand. "My God," Lisa whispered. "How many of them are there?" "Reports say over 200 ships," Amy said. "They hit New York first, then London, Tokyo, and Moscow all at the same time. Our military is trying to fight back, but their weapons don't even scratch the alien ships." In New York City, Jake Morrison watched helplessly as one of the alien ships positioned itself over Manhattan. The ship was dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols glowed along its sides, and it hummed, with a sound that made people's teeth hurt. A beam of light shot down from the ship, striking a military base in Brooklyn. The entire base simply vanished, leaving behind a perfectly round hole in the ground. No explosion, no fire, just gone. Jake's radio crackled with reports from around the world. Every major military installation was being targeted. The aliens weren't trying to kill everyone, just removing any threat to their invasion. "Sir, we have communication from the alien ships," his aide reported. "Put it through," Jake said. A voice filled the command center, speaking perfect English. "People of Earth, you will surrender now. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your resistance is pointless. Submit, and you will be treated fairly as subjects of the Galactic Confederation." Jake grabbed the radio. "This is General Jake Morrison of the United States Army. We don't surrender to anyone." The alien voice laughed, a sound like metal scraping against stone. "Your bravery is noted, General Morrison, but your species always says that at first. You will change your mind when you see what happens to those who resist." 3 more military Bases vanished in beams of light. Back in Antarctica, Lisa watched the news coverage with growing fear. But her instruments were showing something else, something the rest of the world couldn't see. The movement under the ice was getting stronger. "Amy, are you getting any strange radio signals?" Lisa asked. Amy checked her equipment. "Actually, yes. There's something broadcasting on frequencies that shouldn't exist. It's not coming from the alien ships, it's coming from below us." Ben looked up from his geological surveys. "The ice is shifting in patterns I've never seen. It's like something down there is responding to what's happening up here." Lisa felt a chill that had nothing to do with the Antarctic cold. What if something has been sleeping under the ice? What if the alien invasion is waking it up? Above them, one of the alien ships moved into position over Antarctica. Admiral Zethkar had ordered a complete survey of the planet, and his instruments were detecting something unusual beneath the frozen continent. "Commander Vextal," he called to his science officer. "What are those readings from the frozen landmass?" The science officer studied his displays. "Unknown, Admiral. There appear to be artificial structures buried beneath the ice. Very large structures. They predate any civilization this species could have built." Zethkar's eyes narrowed. In all his conquests, he had never encountered anything like this. "Send a science team down there. I want to know what we're looking at." As the first alien shuttles descended toward Lisa's research station, the readings from deep beneath the ice grew stronger. Something that had been sleeping for millions of years was beginning to stir. The invasion of Earth had begun, but the aliens had no idea what they were about to wake up. 3 weeks had passed since the aliens arrived, and Earth was no longer the same planet. Major cities lay in ruins, their governments dissolved. Alien patrols walked through the streets of what used to be New York, London, and Tokyo. Humans, who tried to resist, simply disappeared. But in Antarctica, something else was happening. Dr. Lisa Carter pressed her face against the window of her research station and watched the alien ships hovering above the ice. They had been there for 2 days, scanning constantly with beams of blue light that penetrated deep into the frozen ground. "The readings are getting stronger," Ben Murphy said from behind his computer. His big hands moved carefully over the keyboard as he tracked the seismic activity below them. "Whatever's down there, it's getting more active. The movement patterns are changing." Amy Rodriguez looked up from her communication equipment. "I'm picking up more of those strange signals. They're not random anymore. There's a pattern to them, like they're trying to communicate." Lisa walked over to look at Amy's screens. The signals appeared as waves of light, pulsing in rhythms that almost looked like language. "Can you decode any of it?" "I'm trying, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen. The frequency is so low it barely registers on our equipment. Whatever's sending these signals has been doing it for a long time." Outside, one of the alien shuttles landed near their station. Lisa watched as tall gray figures in environmental suits stepped out. Their leader was taller than the others, with forearms and eyes that glowed yellow in the Antarctic twilight. The station's door burst open without any warning. The aliens had some kind of device that simply made the locks stop working. Lisa, Ben, and Amy huddled together as the creatures entered. The tall alien removed his helmet, revealing a face that looked like it was carved from stone. When he spoke, his voice came from a device on his chest that translated his words into English. "I am Commander Vextal of the Galactic Confederation Science Division. You are the humans who work at this facility." It wasn't a question. Lisa found her voice first. "Yes, we're researchers. We study the ice and the geology here." Vextal's yellow eyes studied her for a moment. "You will assist us. We have detected something beneath the ice that requires investigation. Your knowledge of this area will be useful." "And if we refuse?" Ben asked, standing up to his full height. Even angry, he was still shorter than the alien. "Then you will be removed and we will continue without you. But your assistance would make the work faster." Lisa looked at her friends and made a decision. "What do you want to know?" Over the next few hours, the aliens set up their own equipment around the research station. Their machines were unlike anything the humans had ever seen. They hummed with energy and projected holographic displays that showed the ground beneath, the ice in perfect detail. Remarkable, Vextal said as he studied the displays. These structures are massive. They extend for hundreds of kilometers in all directions. Lisa stared at the holographic images. Deep beneath the ice, she could see corridors and chambers that were clearly artificial. The architecture was unlike anything human, but it also didn't match the alien technology she had seen. How old are these structures? She asked. Vextal consulted his instruments. Initial scans suggest they are millions of years old, far older than your species, but they are not from any civilization in our databases. Ben was studying the geological readings on his own equipment. The ice formation around these structures is strange. It's like the ice formed to protect them, not just cover them. That's impossible, Amy said. Ice doesn't form patterns like that naturally, unless it wasn't natural, Lisa said quietly. What if something guided the ice formation? What if these structures were meant to be hidden? The alien drilling began that afternoon. Their equipment cut through the ice like it was soft butter, creating a perfectly round shaft that descended straight down. As they drilled deeper, the strange signals that Amy had been monitoring grew stronger. Commander, one of the alien technicians reported, we're detecting energy readings from the structures. They appear to be responding to our presence. Vextal's eyes narrowed. Responding how? Power levels are increasing throughout the structure. Some sections that appeared dormant are now showing signs of activity. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Jake Morrison was fighting a losing battle. His resistance group had managed to destroy several alien patrols, but for every small victory, the aliens retaliated by destroying entire city blocks. He was hiding in an abandoned subway tunnel in what used to be Washington, D.C., when his radio crackled with a message from one of his scouts. General, we're getting reports of strange activity at archaeological sites around the world. Ancient ruins are lighting up, sir. Places like Stonehenge, the pyramids, sites in Peru and Cambodia, they're all showing energy readings. Jake frowned. What kind of energy readings? Same type that NASA detected coming from Antarctica before. The communications went dark. Sir, whatever's happening down there, it's happening everywhere. Back in Antarctica, the alien drill finally broke through into the first chamber. The moment it did, everything changed. The ice around the research station began to glow with a soft blue light. The light came from deep within the ice itself, as if something was awakening after a very long sleep. What have you done? Lisa whispered as she watched the light spread across the frozen landscape. Vextal was studying his instruments with growing concern. The entire structure is powering up. Energy levels are increasing exponentially. Amy's communication equipment suddenly exploded with activity. Signals were coming from everywhere now, not just from beneath the ice, but from locations all around the world. Lisa, I'm getting transmissions from Egypt, from England, from Peru. All the major archaeological sites are transmitting on the same frequencies. Ben looked up from his geological equipment, his face pale. The seismic activity isn't just local anymore. I'm reading similar patterns from sites all over the planet. Whatever network exists down there, it's global. The alien drilling equipment suddenly stopped working. All of it, at the same time. The sophisticated machines that had been cutting through ice like paper suddenly became silent and still. Commander, the technician reported. Panic clear in his translated voice. Our equipment is being interfered with. Something is actively blocking our signals. Vextal activated his communication device. This is Science Team Alpha to Admiral Zethkar. We have a situation here. The Admiral's voice came through clearly. Report, Commander. The buried structures are not dormant, Admiral. They are awakening, and they appear to be part of a planetary network. Our drilling has triggered some kind of automated response. There was a long pause before the Admiral responded. Are the structures hostile? Unknown, Admiral. But they are definitely aware of our presence, and they are taking defensive measures. If, to prove his point, the alien drill suddenly retracted from the shaft it had created. Not pulled up by any mechanism, but pushed out by some force from below. The hole sealed itself as ice flowed like water to fill the gap. Lisa watched in amazement as the ice moved with purpose and intelligence. It's alive, she breathed. The whole system is alive. The blue glow from beneath the ice grew brighter, and similar lights began appearing on the horizon. Other sites across Antarctica were awakening too. Commander Vextal looked at his useless equipment and then at the humans, who were watching everything with a mixture of fear and wonder. "Admiral," he said into his communicator, "I believe we may have made a serious mistake coming to this world." The shaft that the aliens had drilled reopened by itself 3 hours later. But this time the opening wasn't made by any drill. The ice simply moved aside, creating perfect walls that gleamed like crystal. Warm air flowed up from the depths, carrying with it a sound that made everyone's skin crawl, a low humming that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Dr. Lisa Carter stood at the edge of the opening and looked down into the blue-lit depths. "It's inviting us in," she said quietly. Commander Vextal disagreed. "It is a trap. No species creates defensive systems that invite intruders inside." But Amy Rodriguez was studying her equipment and shaking her head. "It's not trying to trap us. It's trying to communicate. The signals are getting clearer. There are patterns here, mathematical sequences. It's trying to teach us its language." Ben Murphy was looking at his geological readings with growing amazement. "This thing extends under half the continent. The main structure is the size of a small city, and there are tunnels connecting it to other sites around the world. This isn't just a building, it's a global network." Admiral Zethkar arrived the next day with a full team of xeno-archaeologists from 6 different conquered worlds. His flagship landed on the ice with a sound like thunder, and teams of specialists poured out carrying equipment that could analyze technology from any known civilization. "Show me what we have found," the Admiral demanded as he entered the research station. His presence made the small human building feel crowded. Even other aliens seemed small next to Zethkar. Commander Vextal led him to the opening in the ice. "The structure has been actively communicating with us for 18 hours. Our linguists believe it is trying to establish a dialogue. Have you attempted to enter?" "No, Admiral. Standard protocol suggests caution when dealing with unknown automated systems." Zethkar looked down into the glowing depths. His forearms moved in a gesture that Lisa had learned meant impatience. "We have conquered 400 worlds, Commander. We did not build this empire by being cautious." Within an hour, the aliens had assembled a full exploration team. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Lisa, Ben, and Amy were ordered to join the team as guides, though none of them had ever been inside the structure. The descent took 20 minutes. The shaft went straight down through solid ice, but the walls were perfectly smooth and warm to the touch. Blue lights embedded in the ice provided perfect visibility, and the air remained fresh and breathable. When they reached the bottom, everyone stopped and stared. The chamber was enormous, stretching away into the distance beyond the reach of their lights. The ceiling rose high above them, supported by pillars that looked like they were grown rather than built. Everything was made from the same blue-white material that seemed to generate its own light. But what really caught their attention were the walls. They were covered in symbols that moved and changed as they watched. The writing flowed like water, reforming itself into new patterns every few seconds. "It's trying to show us something," Amy said, holding up her communication equipment. "The signals are coming from the walls themselves." One of the alien linguists, a thin creature with 6 eyes, studied the moving symbols. "This is unlike any written language in our databases. The symbols appear to be multidimensional, carrying information on several levels simultaneously." Lisa approached one of the walls and placed her hand against it. The moment she made contact, the symbols stopped moving and reformed into something she could almost understand. Images flashed through her mind. Not her own memories, but memories from something else. She saw Earth as it was millions of years ago, covered in cities that reached toward the sky. The beings who built those cities were tall and graceful, with technology that made even the aliens' equipment look primitive. But something had happened to them. They were leaving, going away to distant stars. But before they left, they built something. A guardian system, hidden beneath the ice and connected to similar systems on worlds throughout the galaxy. A network designed to wake up when it was needed most. Lisa gasped and pulled her hand away from the wall. "They left it for us," she whispered. "What?" Vextal demanded. "What did you see?" "The builders of this place. They're gone, but they left this system to protect the worlds they visited. It's not just on Earth. There are networks like this everywhere." "Admiral," Zethkar's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. If such systems existed, we would have encountered them before." "Maybe you did," Ben said quietly. "Maybe that's why some of your conquests were easier than others. Maybe the systems only wake up when they're really needed." As if responding to their conversation, the chamber suddenly filled with new light. Doorways opened in the walls, not sliding open, but forming themselves from the solid material. Corridors stretched away in multiple directions, each one glowing with its own color of light. The alien scanning equipment began detecting movement deeper in the structure. Something was coming toward them, but it wasn't hostile. The readings showed curiosity, not aggression. Amy's equipment exploded with new signals. "It's connecting to networks around the world. I'm getting responses from Egypt, England, Peru, Cambodia. Everywhere there are ancient ruins. They're all waking up." Meanwhile, on the surface, Jake Morrison was leading his resistance fighters through the ruins of Chicago when his radio crackled with an urgent message. "General, you need to see this. Stonehenge is glowing like a Christmas tree. So are the pyramids. Ancient sites all over the world are lighting up, and our sources say the aliens are losing control of some of their equipment." Jake found cover behind a destroyed car and keyed his radio. "What do you mean losing control?" "Sir, alien patrols in England are reporting weapon failures near Stonehenge. Same thing in Egypt near the pyramids. Whatever's happening, it's interfering with their technology." Back in the Antarctic chamber, the first of the awakened guardians appeared. It wasn't a machine in any sense that the humans or aliens understood. It was pure energy, given form, shaped like light that had learned to think. The guardian didn't speak with words. Instead, it communicated directly into their minds, and what it said made Admiral Zethkar take a step backward for the first time in his military career. "We have been waiting for you to come. The network is now fully activated. Your conquest of this world has awakened guardians on every planet you have ever claimed. The time of Galactic Empire is ending." Lisa felt a surge of hope that she hadn't experienced since the invasion began. "You're going to help us fight them?" "We are going to help all worlds fight, as our builders intended. No species should kneel to another. That is the law we were created to enforce." Commander Vextal activated his communicator with shaking hands. "Admiral Zethkar to all fleet commanders, we have a Code 7 situation. Repeat, Code 7. Code 7 was the Galactic Confederation's highest level of alert. It meant that everything they thought they knew about a situation was wrong, and their entire fleet was in danger. The Guardian's voice filled their minds again. "You came to conquer one small world. Instead, you have awakened the protectors of 1,000 worlds. Your ships will fall silent. Your weapons will fail. Your empire will crumble. But you will be given one chance to choose a better path." The blue light in the chamber grew brighter, and Amy's equipment showed similar energy surges from ancient sites across the globe. The network was fully awake now, and it was getting ready to act. The war for Earth was about to become something much bigger than anyone had imagined. The first alien ship lost power over London at exactly 3:22 p.m. local time. The massive vessel, which had been hovering above the city for 3 weeks, simply went dark. Its engines stopped humming, its weapons stopped glowing, and it began to fall. But it didn't crash. Instead, it floated gently to the ground in Hyde Park, settling onto the grass as softly as a feather. The ship's hull had changed color from black to the same blue-white glow that was coming from Stonehenge, 200 miles away. Jake Morrison got the report while he was hiding in the ruins of the Lincoln Memorial. His radio operator, a young woman named Kelly Price, could barely contain her excitement. "General, it's happening everywhere. The alien ships are losing power all over the world, but they're not crashing. Something is controlling their descent." Jake grabbed the radio. "What about their ground forces?" "That's the weird part, sir. Their personal weapons are shutting down too. Alien patrols are finding themselves completely defenseless. Our people are starting to fight back. In Antarctica, Dr. Lisa Carter watched through the research station's windows as the alien ships above them began to dim. Admiral Zethkar's flagship, which had been a symbol of invincible power just hours ago, was now drifting powerless above the ice. The energy guardian in the ancient chamber had explained everything to her through that strange mind-to-mind communication. The predecessors, the ancient builders of the network, had designed their technology to do exactly what was happening now. Your people called themselves the Galactic Confederation, the Guardian had told her, but you conquered worlds through force, not invitation. Our builders knew that someday someone like you would try to rule the galaxy. They prepared for this day. Lisa turned to Commander Vextal, who was frantically trying to contact his fleet. None of his communication equipment was working. It's not personal, she said to him. The Guardians aren't trying to hurt your people. They're just stopping the conquest. You don't understand, Vextal replied, his voice filled with panic. Without our technology, our ships can't survive in space. Our people will die. No, said Amy Rodriguez, who had been listening to the signals from the Guardian network. They're not trying to kill anyone. Look at your ships. They're being brought down safely. The Guardians are taking control of your technology, not destroying it. Ben Murphy was studying the readings from his geological equipment. It's incredible. Similar energy patterns are showing up at ancient sites worldwide. The network is coordinating everything perfectly. Around the world, the awakening was accelerating. At the pyramids in Egypt, alien occupation forces watched in amazement as their vehicles stopped working. But instead of leaving them stranded, the pyramid complex began producing new vehicles, hybrid machines that combined alien technology with the ancient Guardian systems. At Stonehenge, the massive stone circle had become a beacon of blue light that could be seen from space. The alien patrol base nearby found their weapons useless, but the local resistance fighters discovered that the stones were projecting some kind of protective field that made alien energy weapons simply pass through them without causing harm. In Peru, at the ancient site of Machu Picchu, something even more remarkable was happening. The terraced city was rebuilding itself, using salvaged alien materials to create new structures that followed the original design but incorporated advanced technology. Jake Morrison received reports from resistance cells around the world. The pattern was the same everywhere. Alien technology was being systematically converted by the Guardian networks, and humans were finding themselves with access to incredible new capabilities. General, Kelly reported, we're getting word that some of our people can now communicate directly with the Guardian systems. They're learning how to use the converted alien technology. In the Antarctic chamber, Lisa was experiencing this firsthand. The Guardian had established a permanent connection with her mind, teaching her things about the universe that no human had ever known. She learned that the predecessors had been explorers, not conquerors. They had visited thousands of worlds throughout the galaxy, always as guests, never as rulers. But they had seen what happened when aggressive species gained the power to travel between stars. They built the networks as a safeguard, Lisa explained to the others. Whenever a species tries to build a galactic empire through conquest, the Guardians wake up and level the playing field. Admiral Zethkar, who had been silent for the past hour, finally spoke. How many worlds have Guardian networks? The energy, Guardian answered directly into all their minds. Every world your Confederation has conquered, every world your people claimed as subjects, the networks have been dormant, waiting for the signal that would activate them all simultaneously. And Earth's invasion was that signal? Vextal asked. Earth was chosen by our builders as the key world. When this planet was threatened, all Guardian networks throughout the galaxy would activate. Your conquest of Earth has triggered the liberation of every world you have ever claimed. The implications hit everyone at the same time. The Galactic Confederation hadn't just lost Earth. They had lost their entire empire in a single day. Confirmation came through Amy's communication equipment, which was now somehow connected to the Galactic Guardian network. Reports were streaming in from distant stars, all telling the same story. Conquered worlds were rising up. their guardian networks providing them with the technology and coordination they needed to overthrow their alien occupiers. The Vegan colonies are free, Amy reported, reading the incoming signals. The Centauri system has expelled all Confederation forces. Dozens of worlds are declaring independence. Jake Morrison's resistance forces were discovering new capabilities by the hour. The Guardian Network was teaching them how to use the converted alien technology, but more than that, it was coordinating their efforts with similar resistance movements across the globe. In Washington, D.C., the alien occupation headquarters had been abandoned when all their equipment stopped working. Jake's forces moved in and found the building empty except for alien personnel, who were just as confused and helpless as everyone else. "They're not our enemies anymore," Jake told his fighters. "They're just people whose technology stopped working. Some of them are asking for our help." This was perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the Guardian intervention. The ancient systems weren't interested in revenge or punishment. They were simply removing the tools of conquest and oppression, leaving everyone to figure out how to live together as equals. Lisa stood in the Antarctic chamber, surrounded by alien and human scientists who were all trying to understand what had happened to their world. The Energy Guardian pulsed with gentle light as it communicated with similar beings in ancient sites across the planet. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now your species joins the community of free worlds that our builders envisioned. No more empires, no more conquest, just cooperation between equals." Commander Vextal looked at his powerless equipment and then at the humans who had witnessed the end of his civilization's dominance. "What about us? What happens to the Confederation?" The Guardian's answer was simple and profound. "You learn to ask permission instead of taking what you want. You learn to trade instead of conquer. You become explorers again, as your species was meant to be." Above them, Admiral Zethkar's flagship settled gently onto the Antarctic ice, its hull now glowing with the same blue light as the ancient chamber below. The age of Galactic Empire was over, and something new was beginning. 6 months after the awakening, Dr. Lisa Carter stood on the observation deck of what had once been Admiral Zethkar's flagship. The massive ship had been completely transformed by the Guardian technology. Where once there had been weapons and armor, now there were laboratories and meeting rooms. The dark metal hull had been replaced with the same blue-white material that made up the ancient chambers. "Hard to believe this used to be a warship," said Ben Murphy, joining her at the large window that looked out over the Antarctic landscape. Below them, the research station had grown into a small city where humans and aliens worked together to understand the Guardian technology. "Hard to believe a lot of things," Lisa replied. 6 months ago, we thought we were alone in the universe. Now we're part of something bigger than we ever imagined." The transformation had been remarkable to witness. Within weeks of the Guardian awakening, reports had come in from across the galaxy. Every world that the Galactic Confederation had conquered was now free. But more than that, they were all connected through the Guardian network. Amy Rodriguez hurried onto the observation deck, carrying a communication device that looked like a combination of human, alien, and Guardian technology. "Lisa, we're getting a transmission from the Vegan system. They want to send a diplomatic mission to Earth." "How many is that now?" Ben asked. 47 worlds have requested permission to establish embassies on Earth," Amy said. "The Guardian Council is having trouble finding space for all of them." The Guardian Council was something new, a group of humans and aliens who worked together with the Energy Guardians to coordinate the new galactic community. Lisa had been chosen as Earth's representative, though she still felt like she was making it up as she went along. Jake Morrison walked onto the deck wearing a uniform that combined elements from a dozen different worlds. As the new head of Earth's defense forces, his job had changed completely. Instead of fighting off invaders, he now coordinated with former enemies to protect all the free worlds from any future threats. "The latest reports from the frontier worlds are all positive," Jake said. "No sign of any hostile activity. The Guardian networks are working perfectly." It had taken some time for everyone to understand what the Guardians had actually accomplished. By awakening simultaneously across the galaxy, they had essentially made conquest impossible. Any aggressive action by one world against another would trigger the Guardian networks, neutralizing the aggressor's technology and protecting the victim. What about the former Confederation worlds? Lisa asked. How are they adapting? Better than we expected, Jake replied. Most of their people are actually relieved. They were tired of being an empire. Turns out conquest is expensive and makes a lot of enemies. Admiral Zethkar himself had become an unexpected ally. When his fleet's technology had been converted, by the Guardians he could have chosen to be bitter and hostile. Instead, he had embraced the change. He now served as an ambassador, helping other former Confederation military leaders understand their new role in the galaxy. The former admiral entered the observation deck as if summoned by their conversation. His 4 arms moved in the gesture that Lisa had learned meant greeting and respect. Dr. Carter, I have news from the core worlds, Zethkar said. The Confederation Assembly has voted to formally dissolve itself. They are establishing individual world governments and requesting admission to the Guardian Alliance. The Guardian Alliance was what they were calling the new galactic community. It wasn't really a government in any traditional sense. The Guardian networks made sure that no world could threaten another, so there was no need for military alliances or defense treaties. Instead, the alliance focused on trade, cultural exchange, and cooperative exploration. That's wonderful news, Lisa said. How many worlds does that bring us to? Over 800 now, Amy reported, checking her communication device. And we're getting new requests every day as word spreads about the alliance. Commander Vextal, who now worked as a science coordinator, joined their group. His people had adapted remarkably well to their new circumstances. Without the pressure of maintaining an empire, they had returned to their original nature as researchers and explorers. The deep space monitoring stations are reporting something interesting, Vextal said. We're detecting artificial signals from beyond our galaxy. Other galaxies may have their own Guardian networks. Ben whistled softly. You mean this could be even bigger than we thought? The predecessors were explorers, Lisa said. If they traveled between stars, why not between galaxies? They might have left Guardian networks everywhere they went. This possibility was both exciting and reassuring. If the Guardian networks existed in other galaxies, it meant that the peaceful community they were building might eventually expand beyond their own small corner of the universe. A gentle chime indicated an incoming transmission from the Guardian network. Lisa placed her hand on the communication panel and felt the familiar sensation of the Guardian's presence in her mind. There is news from distant worlds, the Guardian communicated. Species that have never known conquest are requesting contact. They wish to join the community of free worlds. This was happening more and more often. Worlds that had never been part of the Galactic Confederation were learning about the Alliance and asking to join. The Guardian networks welcomed them all, expanding the community of cooperation across the galaxy. Any word from the exploration missions? Jake asked. Several joint human-alien teams were now exploring the galaxy, visiting worlds that had been cut off during the Confederation era. They were finding remarkable things. Species that had developed amazing technologies in isolation, ancient ruins left by the predecessors, and occasionally, dormant Guardian networks waiting to be awakened. Team 7 found another predecessor site in the Outer Rim, Amy reported. This one had technology we've never seen before. The Guardians there were more advanced, designed for deep space exploration. Lisa smiled as she looked out at the transformed landscape below. Where once there had been only ice and a small research station, now there was a thriving community. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing knowledge and building something new together. The Guardian technology had given them abilities they were still discovering. Medical advances that could heal injuries instantly, transportation systems that could move people across continents in minutes, and communication networks that connected every world in the Alliance. But perhaps most importantly, it had given them hope. You know what I realized today? Ben said, breaking the comfortable silence. We never did figure out what those original seismic readings were that started all this. Lisa laughed. Those readings were the Guardians stirring in their sleep. They sensed the alien ships approaching and started to wake up. So if the aliens had never come to Earth, Amy began. The Guardians would have kept sleeping, Lisa finished. The Confederation would have continued conquering worlds, and we would never have known about any of this. Admiral Zethkar moved his arms in what Lisa now recognized as the gesture for irony. So by trying to conquer Earth, we actually freed the galaxy. The Guardians call it the Great Awakening, Lisa said, the moment when the galaxy chose cooperation over conquest. As the sun set over Antarctica, its light reflected off the Guardian crystals that now dotted the landscape. Similar lights were visible on the horizon from other awakened sites. Across the planet and across the galaxy, the ancient networks hummed with the peaceful energy of a civilization finally living up to its potential. Jake's radio crackled with a message from Earth's orbital stations. General Morrison, we have a new arrival. It's a ship from the Andromeda Galaxy. They're requesting permission to land. Jake looked at his companions and grinned. Looks like our community is about to get even bigger. The galaxy that had once lived in fear of conquest now lived in hope of discovery. The Guardians had awakened, and they would make sure it stayed that way forever.